Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. Do want to talk about one team that I felt like flew completely under the radar on Saturday. That's Texas A&M. Texas A&M, right? Like, look, and this is the theme of today's show. Big three, Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State. Maybe Notre Dame plays themselves into that conversation. But outside of those three, those are the three dudes this year, right? Those are the three teams you want to win a championship, you got to go through. And I don't think anybody's on that level. And I think there's a lot of good teams that aren't on that level. I don't think Georgia's on that level. I don't think that makes them a bad team. I just don't think they're a good team. I don't think Florida's on that level. Oklahoma, who all of a sudden is starting to play well, is not on that level. Wisconsin, I don't think is on that level. But a team that no one is talking about, that quietly, what was the old term? I think it was Lee Corso used to lose. They're just sneaking around the chicken coop. I think it's Texas A&M. Now, Texas A&M played on Saturday against Arkansas. It was Saturday night. It was going head-to-head with the Ohio State-Penn State game. Alabama's playing. Florida's picking fights with Missouri on another channel. So a lot of people missed this game. I think you can make the case that maybe outside of Ohio State, A&M was as impressive as anybody in college football on Saturday. They beat Arkansas 42-31. But if you watch the game, it wasn't that close. They were up 42-17 going into the fourth. Arkansas scores 2 touchdowns late, including one with 30 seconds left in the game to cover. But A&M was dominant. And they were dominant in a way that I haven't seen very many teams be dominant, especially relative to the competition of Arkansas, right? Because say what you want about Arkansas, their defense has been phenomenal this year. And A&M just went to the line of scrimmage and just beat the crap out of them. I haven't, it's been a long time since I've seen a team just physically dominate another one like that, but they just completely ran all over all over Arkansas, They finished with over 5 yards per carry. Kellen Mond is starting to evolve into the quarterback that we all thought he would be. For people who don't follow college football recruiting, Kellen Mond was a 5-star kid coming out of high school, ends up at A&M, starts, I don't know if he started game one. I know it was against UCLA at the Rose Bowl right down the street from where I live. But if he didn't start, he was thrown into the fire pretty quickly. And he's finally starting to look like that guy. He was phenomenal. And so as I look at A&M in the bigger picture, 2 things stand out to me. The first is that this is what you're paying Jimbo Fisher $75 million for, right? And if you remember back to, I guess it was the second week of the SEC, which would have been week 5 of college football, I talked about this on this show. I talked about the fact that Jimbo Fisher's making $75 million as part of his contract, fully guaranteed, and at some point he had to deliver. Next week they beat Florida, beat Mississippi State, go into a bye week. But, this is kind of what you wanted to see when you hired Jimbo Fisher, stolen from Florida State, and paid him all this money. I think he is establishing his system. I think he's establishing the brand of football that he wants to play. And while I know it's not sexy like Ole Miss or Oklahoma or whatever, it's effective. Balance on offense, balance on defense. I believe they had, I think it was 26 passing attempts, 32 rushing attempts on the ground, physically dominate the opponent, and that's exactly what they did. And by the way, that's not a knock on Arkansas. I think A&M is just trending in the right direction. Speaking of which, A&M is a team that we need to talk about as a dark horse playoff contender right now. And I'm not ready to jump 2 feet in, but it goes back to what I said, 25 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago with Notre Dame, is that Notre Dame's playing Clemson to position themselves for that 4th spot. But if Notre Dame loses this weekend, that 4th spot is completely up for grabs. I said it a minute ago. But either Georgia or Florida, one of the two is going to have 2 losses by the end of this weekend. If Alabama wins out, everybody in the SEC will have 2 losses. The only team that has a chance to finish with 1 is Texas A&M. And if Alabama finishes undefeated and their only loss was at Alabama, that's a pretty good argument to make the case that you should be in the playoff. And so you look at their schedule. It can be done. They got 5 games left. I would say they're going to be very comfortable favorites in 4 of them. This weekend they play at South Carolina, then at Tennessee, then Ole Miss at home, LSU at home, and at Auburn. South Carolina, I think they play hard. They're just not very good. Tennessee, I don't know what they are right now. We're going to learn a lot about them coming off a bye. Ole Miss, kind of know who they are. Score a lot of points, give up a lot of points. You just got to survive against Ole Miss, but A&M's playing really good defense right now. LSU's just a mess. Don't know what we're getting from them. And, playing at Auburn is going to be kind of tough. Say what you want about Auburn. They looked really good on Saturday against LSU. It is interesting, though, this year, A&M will play at Auburn the week after the Iron Bowl. Never forget that. Iron Bowl is played Thanksgiving. SEC is playing another week of games after that, and in some cases, 2 extra weeks of games. And so A&M actually gets Auburn after the Iron Bowl. If Auburn gets smoked by Alabama at Alabama, call me crazy, but I could see the scenario where they're flat for this game. If not, what do they call it? The body blow effect, where you're just beat up from playing a really good team. And so A&M's schedule really falls nicely for them. Now, they're going to need some help other places. The biggest thing they can root for, honestly, is for Clemson to win at Notre Dame this weekend. Because if Notre Dame loses this weekend, like I said a minute ago, they're probably not going to beat Clemson with Trevor Lawrence if they can't beat him without him. And then after that, you start looking around. Who else is A&M really going to be in competition with? Everybody in the SEC is going to have 2 losses. By the way, if Florida somehow gets to the SEC championship game, even if they lose to Bama, you can't argue that Florida, because they win their division, deserves a spot over A&M. A&M beat Florida. Pac-12 is playing 5, 6, 7 games. I love the Pac-12, but that place is a mess. The Big Ten, Wisconsin's probably the second best team, but how many games are they going to get in? 6, 5, 4, 7? It's not going to be a lot. And even then, they're probably going to lose to Ohio State. And so to me, all I'm saying is great win for Texas A&M, dominant win for Texas A&M, but I think the story really is that they are in the playoff conversation.